I'm dying to see this play. You don't have anything? And he said, no, we have tickets. Oh. And I said, can I get in? And he goes, you know, and so he's like kind of talking, so we do as we do, and after I give him my spiel, he's like, okay, you can come in, but you can't take pictures. Now, I waited to take this picture till the end. So to be fair, that's my joke, but this is like at the end of the play, right before the standing ovation. But if I can explain to you that before that, the sun was setting and I felt like a Greek. I felt like I was living 2,000 years ago. And as soon as we walked up, the guy had said to me, you can stay for 5 minutes. 5 minuti. So I come up, and right when I come and I see what's going on, I hear the Italian, the sun is setting over there, it's all the people, you have this feeling of oneness with the audience, and I went, and he said, you can stay till the end. So here's the curtain call, people are clapping, and here's Agamemnon, and here's the slaves, and they were rolling around in the dirt. It was fantastic. Okay, so now I'm going to back up a little bit, and we just explored Siracusa down here. And this was my first venture over here because my family's from over here. And when I say my family, I mean my father, who's still not an American citizen. And Sicily was always a myth, to me personally, it was a myth because I got the sense that our family was a little bit different from other families, mostly by food at first. So what other people thought was Italian food was not Italian food to me. So like lentil soup and artichoke and seafood and frittata with artichoke and potato, I mean all these wonderful things that I was eating. And then the way that we ate, and we had the pizzeria, and then there was the language. I was hearing Sicilian all the time, which is actually different than Italian because Italian, for example, you'd say un bambino as a kid, but in Sicilian say picciolino. Or dammi un bacio is give me a kiss, but in Sicilian it's dammi un bacito. Or vieni qua instead of vieni qua. So my family was always speaking Sicilian, but I didn't speak it, and I knew stories like bits and pieces. My father was slapped by a Catholic priest. He probably deserved it. He dropped out of school in 3rd grade. He didn't go to school after 3rd grade. He was selling tomatoes. And back in the day, you'd have the tomatoes would be kind of layered, and women would steal from him. They'd go underneath and pull the tomatoes. He had a record store. He had the first record store in Carini, so he was a visionary. Because who would have thought a record store would work in the small town of Carini? And then he came over when he was in his 20s, and we have all kinds of immigration stories because he wasn't allowed in the country, and he would sneak back and forth across the border from Montreal for a couple years before he finally met a Sicilian lawyer Cusumano, who got him a green card. So we had all these great stories, but Sicily was a ghost to me that I only knew existed because it made this great food. So I really wanted to discover Sicily. My father's way of telling me about it was, here, sit down and watch The Godfathers. Literally, he said, when you're done with 1, put in 2. And then he left the room. And I was a kid going, what the heck, there's blood? I don't understand why people are shooting. And I literally was laying on the floor just like watching The Godfathers going, this is my heritage. But why? Because that was in the 80s, and there wasn't a lot more to show me. The world wasn't as globalized. So he was very proud not of the mafia, nor should we be, except for the people that fought against the mafia like Falcone and Borsellino and lost their lives because of it. But we should be proud that, and my father was proud that they showed Sicily. Look at the landscape, look at the landscape, that's all he said. So, and then we had books, and then later Cinema Paradiso when it came out when I was a teenager, and I said, okay, this is Sicily, I'm getting it. And then we went, when I was a teenager, long story, I almost lost my plane. And then I kind of got to know my family there and connect with them. These are recent photos because older photos, when I was a kid, I didn't want to, whatever, these are more electronic. So this is 2008, this is my brother. And a lot of his family lives there. He's like a father figure to me. This is his father, this is my great uncle, this is my uncle who has a house there, and all the different cousins, myself and my brother. And that's my dad growing up in Carini. just to show you some of the family pictures that are nostalgic and imaginary. And these are the younger versions of my family that I connect with when I go to Sicily. Sometimes I go by myself, and I imagine what it was like for my father. And my father doesn't travel that much, he's afraid to fly. So he says that I'm the ambassador of the family when I go. But you have my dad here, and then my grandfather here, and then my aunt over here. This is a wedding. This is my great-grandmother, whose name is Crucifissa, and Lorenzo, my great-grandfather, and that's why I have about 20 Lorenzos in my family. My brother's name is Lorenzo, my father's name is Lorenzo, my cousin is Lorenzo, his son is Lorenzo, my sister is Lorenza, and my middle name is Loren. So this obsession with the name Lorenzo was started because it's the firstborn son is going to be named after the father. So this is a wedding. That's my dad with my aunt, and then this is a reception, and here's the dancing, and my dad is dancing, making a very weird face. And this is my aunt, and to hear stories back then, if you were engaged, you couldn't even touch the person that you're engaged to. You just sit like across the room and look at each other. So I think my aunt is really giddy because she liked the male attention. And then, you know, it's very Catholic society, very traditional. There's my dad and my aunt. But fun too. This is my grandfather here with his brother. Here's my dad playing with a tire on the side of the street. Bellin is really good. There's my dad, grandpa, aunt, uncle, cousin, and my grandmother, Lucia, who I mentioned, and my grandfather and my father. More photos. And this is Segesta, a Greek temple, near my dad's hometown that I visit every time I go to Sicily. I'll show you a picture in a minute, hopefully. And here's a family picture eating pasta as a picnic out in the middle of the field. Oh, this guy's really funny. If you can see up close, he's going, ma che hai fatto? Ma che mi no, niente. E questo è mio padre, that's my dad. Come bambino. This again is Crucifissa and Lorenzo, my great-grandparents. Here's my father. And you can see that the family is so close. I can't emphasize it enough, and sometimes I don't even get it myself. But I would say that my family draw there, the family that I have there has been some of the best family experiences ever. It's just part of the culture. This is my grandmother here too. But I would say that it's not part of northern Italy country. I don't want to generalize between north and south, but I'm going to give you the words of my Roman friend, who's actually born in Torino, and I was in Rome this summer, and I had been with my family. And I said, you know, I love, and he said, you know, you're really lucky that you have that, because even in Sicily, not everybody has it, and up north, it's New York pace of life. Everything's fast, and now people move away from family to get jobs. So the fact that like 4 generations will live in one house. This house that they're on right now, our family still has that house. And so when the grandfather is older and he's 90 years old, he's living with a family. When the daughter who's my age gets married, they divide that house in half, Toto and Elena. And they make a whole other kitchen and bathroom, and they redo it so that the daughter can live right next door to her parents, and now they have children, so there's literally 4 generations in one little house, and that's how it is. And when you eat together, you eat proper, and everybody comes home at lunch, and you make you sit, you know, because I told my class about that earlier. Well, in French class, you take time to eat at lunch, and at night you eat later at night. You sit there, you talk. I know you tell you how many good times you've had with that. My father is a successful immigrant in the United States who made the world's largest pizza. We all own pizzerias. My aunt and uncle that you saw that likes guys, happily married, right here. And my grandfather, my brother. And this is at the world's largest pizza. And my father made 4 of them. That's the cherry picker to drop the pepperoni. That's my dad. The Guinness Book of World Records came. This is Luigi Piancone, who they say is mafia. He lives in New Jersey, not Sicily. And that's me with a short haircut. Can you tell? I mean, I look like a boy. There's a story there. I'm not going to tell it. But that's the owner of Roma Foods that you sometimes see delivering even locally in Utica, and we had, I think, like 25,000 pounds of cheese and stuff like that. It was $250,000 to make the pizza, and he fronted a lot of it, and it was given away as donation, and it was cool.
Where was that done?
First one was done in Glens Falls, New York, where I was born in '77, and not that I was born in '77 or anything. And then '78 in Wilton, New York, Saratoga, and then this was '87 in Havana, Florida, right outside of Tallahassee, and then '91. So the funny thing is that my dad had a circle for the pizza, because I don't have a good picture of it, but that's a circle. And when he did it in '91, he just filled in the corners, because he already had the oven in the land. So it became a square and added much more square footage. 120,000 slices. Now, going back to Sicily, like I do, this is the port of Palermo. The mountains, when I first arrived, the mountains is what got me, and I'm going to tell you a few of my firsts in life happened in Sicily. My first crush, first time getting drunk. Oh, my first crush was on my third cousin, but please don't judge me. He liked me too. But we had so much fun together, sorry. But it's true. Then getting drunk, which happened completely by accident. I was 15 and my uncle kept, you have a peach and he would put it in the wine and he'd say, here, let it soak. And then I'd let it soak and then I'd eat the peach and then drink a little wine. And after a while, I wasn't letting the peach soak at all. I was like, And it was 1 in the morning. We were at a long table because, when we go to Italy, my father was to Sicily, everybody's got to see my dad. Oh my God, look at him, look at him. So we're sitting at the table and my dad's like, "Ma domenica sei ubriaca?" And I'm like going, what? And I'm like laughing hysterically. He's asking me if I'm drunk, but it happened at 1 in the morning because we were eating dinner till 1 in the morning. This is Palermo. It's a huge city. It's I was saying it's after Rome, Milan, Naples, Torino, Palermo was the next biggest. It has about 700-something thousand citizens. It's a lot of people that have traveled to Palermo say, oh, I actually was very offended. A friend of a friend said, oh, it's dirty. I got so offended because, yes, it is dirty. Actually, it's disgustingly dirty at times. There's garbage. We have a garbage problem in Sicily because, especially only in my dad's region in Palermo, because they don't have people to pay. They don't pay the garbage people, so there can be a mile of garbage on the road. And when you love a place and you see this, I don't know, it's horrible. But it's not always, you're really glad when they do clean up the street. But what's interesting is the Arab influence, North African, the architecture. I'm going to just run through photos real quick to get back to the myths. But this is a Norman castle built on a pre-existing mosque. So the architecture in Sicily is weaving all these different Mediterranean, kind of climates, architecture, cultures through the architecture. I'm not an architect, so I can't go into all the different reasons of why this architecture is so amazing in the world, but you have the crossroads, Islam and Christianity. Here's a Catholic church. This is the church built by, actually Frederick II, who's a Norman, wonderful educated man. He's in a tomb here. This is in Palermo too. It's called the Piazza della Vergogna. It looks like a chastity belt to me. It's the what do you call it? The Piazza of Shame. And you look at the women, they're kind of covering themselves a little bit. So nudity is being kind of flashed, but then covered up. And I think it's one of the more beautiful fountains I've seen. The other thing that was the first to me was the mountains. I fell in love with the mountains and the sea, and the fact that you can go in the backyard and pick a fig and eat it. And Nespole, which I don't even know if it exists in the United States. Nespole is a little orange fruit. I don't think we have it here. Stuff like that, prickly pears, sea urchin. You know what a sea urchin is? So my cousin dove down in the ocean and he'd come out the one that had a crush on me. And he said, here, try the sea urchin, and it tasted like salt water. You just cut it open and you just eat it right on the beach. I ate goat intestines. I'm a vegetarian, pescatarian now, so I wouldn't do that, but I did eat a fish eye. This past summer, and it was about this big, because the head of the swordfish was about this big. But yeah, it gets some grotesque kind of. It was kind of gross. I like graffiti a lot, but I'm going to show you some of the places where Palermo's a little more run down, and that's what people are talking about. And one can blame this on the mafia, not the graffiti, but the run downness. I'll get to that in a second. Octopus. If I did a survey or just talking with my friends, a lot of people, do you like octopus? Anybody? You eat it? Okay. A lot of my friends don't like it, and they look at me really weird when I eat octopus. But here's a graffiti of an octopus, because it's part of the Mediterranean, and this is one of my favorite dishes ever. So octopus, they're just ingrained, mussels, all the seafood, it's all fresh, and people say it's like dipping down a net, putting it over here and going over here, and dropping it on your plate. And actually, my grandfather was a fisherman for a little while, and they say that he fished with Joe DiMaggio's dad. Here's like poorer sections of Palermo, maybe, run down, and yeah, you could say that the mafia kind of oppressed the people in terms of the way that things were organized or not organized to inspire or not inspire beauty, which I won't get into. But things have been a little bit dilapidated, and the funds don't always get where they need to go, obviously. So one of the big mysteries that I had as a kid was, Dad, if Sicily's so great, why aren't you there? And even myself, I want to ask that question, because I want to be there. I would live there in a heartbeat. But really, one of the reasons that we can't is because of the economy. So obviously, a lot of people know that southern Italy, with the lack of social mobility, is what brought all the Italian immigrants over. They were primarily from the south. And also now we have rootedness in America, so that keeps my dad here as well. Even though he always talks about going back and becoming mayor of Palermo. I don't know how he thinks he can become mayor. But yeah, he thinks he's famous. So, and this is a cathedral that was bombed by the Allies during World War II, and it still is open, and now they show music concerts. And we went here with the Emory University Study Abroad program that I'm faculty with. I've traveled for, this will be my 4th summer this summer, traveling with them, and it's amazing. These students are studying a mural of a plague that basically shows that the triumph of death, it's called. And the skeleton, it's coming, but it's going to take everybody. You see poor people, you see rich, you see religious. The popes are the first to be laying down dead. The religious people, the triumph of death is going to get everybody, this plague, and we talk about it. Traditional carretto siciliano, this would be a cart that looks something like that with a horse pulling it, but you see a lot of these colors in a lot of the artwork. Fiats are decorated like that, and my favorite. Nobody would guess, but guess. You will. What's this? Zucchini. Yeah, that's what we call zucchini. And it's huge and it's delicious. And then the melons are amazing. So Sicily has this great fertile soil. This is Mondello. I'm just going to blow through. This is the Cathedral of Monreale, which is all gold. And it's amazing. Every wall above you and the knob looks like this. Gold, gold, gold. I swear God spoke to me in this cathedral. I felt a glow in my ear. Anyway, marble details back in the room that you have to pay to go into, whatever that's called. Yeah. And then it's a monastery. You can walk along the roof and you see the mountains in the background, and you can look through the keyhole back down into the cathedral. And you're walking in a tunnel. It's like this. And the students, we walk like this to get through. And then at the end, you'll see something like this, and you can look out, and there's a city. And then here you come to a clearing, and you're on the side of the cathedral up toward the top. It's really a cool walk. This you might recognize is Teatro Massimo in the center of Palermo. It's really the center. And this is where in Godfather 3 the daughter dies on the stairs. There's a box in there for the king, but the king of Italy, also because he's exiled, but the royalty would never come to Teatro Massimo, so the only person who ever sat in the king box was, guess who? Al Pacino. Yeah, and this roof opens up because Sicily's really hot, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. If it's so hot that the roof can actually open up, that would be the AC. And AC didn't really exist in Sicily until very recently. And let me tell you that they don't use it. I cannot tell you how many times I get up in the middle of the night crying because it was so hot. And I go take my washcloth and dip it in cold water, come back and put it all over me. August is infernal. So this expression is andiamo a mare, let's go to the sea. So that's why Europeans have August off anyway, most of them. But definitely in Sicily, it's like you've got to go to the beach because there's no other way to really exist. Actually, in Sicily, school starts later in September than the rest of Italy. It's the one region that has its own school timetable because of the heat. This is my grandfather and my little sister and I. And that's one of the famous mountains, very defining mountains of Carini, my dad's hometown. I was going to tell you a story. How much am I doing at a time?
It's 3:07, so.
Okay, I'm going to zip through. Forget that. Family pictures, Palermo, market, falling asleep. You know, this is my cousin, very cool. She was pregnant here. We had just gone to have her see her baby son, who's now I got to meet this past summer named Luca. Family, July 4th, we had a party. We told everybody to come and bring red, white, and blue. That was my cousin and my uncle's house. And we July 4th, we celebrated with our Sicilian family. We couldn't get away from Facebook, though. That's my cousin and I trying to connect after having Wi-Fi at the beach. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. This is the Strait of Messina because there's also another myth. I don't know if you know Odysseus. When he was passing around Sicily, he had to choose between Scylla and Calidus, and they're both two sea monsters. And there's actually, because they could be shipwrecked, either one that you went to. It's kind of like a catch-22. He wound up getting through, I think, okay, but he lost his money. Right, but there's actually a whirlpool. So the myth, there actually is a whirlpool, but it can only take down one small fisherman on very extreme situations. But there is a whirlpool. But back 2,000 years ago, that was described as two different monsters that guarded the side of Sicily and the side of Italy, which is not that far. I'm going to show you a video. Here you see I have a video camera. This is with the Emory University Study Abroad, and I'm about to film the passage across, which I'll show in a minute. I'm afraid that if I get out, I won't get back in. This is eating pasta with students, and it's a race. We all eat out of this wooden trough. That was fun. This is Nino Aquino. Believe it or not, Godfather was not filmed in Corleone, in the center of Sicily. It was filmed in Savoca, which is a beautiful artist town way out of the way. And I met Nino. I was up here admiring one of his artworks, and then this guy goes, "Hey," and I thought it was a restaurant. And I go, "Pizza, la la la." We start talking, he invites me down. Next thing you know, we're best friends, and he's invited me to dinner at his house, wants me to sell his artwork back over here. If anybody's interested, it's like $10,000, and you can come with me, have a guided tour, stay at his place at the artist studio, and take home a piece of artwork. But that's Nino Aquino, who lives in Savoca, where Godfather was filmed. You might recognize this bar. This is where Al Pacino meets his wife. He's sitting out front. I don't have a better picture. And this is I forgot her name. Begins with a T. And she's a drag king. She was in a drag king competition, which I was really surprised to learn about in Sicily, but that was really cool. She's Nino's friend. And this is one of Nino's artworks that's up in Savoca, Omaggio a Francis Ford Coppola. So it's a homage that he paid to the director of Godfather. And that still stands there today. You can see the sea behind, and that Savoca is in this big, huge cavern with a castle over top. It's just a beautiful town. And this is Nino's studio. And this is Nino opening a bottle of wine about what to go with his beautiful risotto. I could eat that forever. Here's my fisheye that I ate. Oh. That eye right there when it is not. I was in a fancy restaurant, and that's what the chef was eating in the back. And they invited me back, and of course I'm going to eat the fisheye. The chef, and I was reading it off, talking about the history of Sicily, and he was like, because he reads for inspiration for his dishes, and he you know, I mean, the history of Sicily is like this big. If you were to read a book, you could never finish reading about it. Like I said, Phoenicians, Greeks, Arabs, Normans, Spain, Spaniards, everybody, French, and Italy. So he offered that to me, and I said okay. And I also made the cheek, which is pretty good. Yeah, yeah, that's well known, but not the eye so much. You might be more into the pizza that we had in Sheffield. That was nice. And these are the rocks. I was having so much fun. But you see how these are, you have to wear shoes, but you can't jump off here. But this is typical Sicilian short. It could be that or it could be sand. This is a traditional musicista siciliano. He plays the Jewish harp. If we have time, I can show you an interview that I did with him for the students. It's on this Italian virtual class website. And the students got to dance with him while I played the music live after dinner, and we were having a lot of fun right there. This is in Mondello, over by Palermo, and this is my cousin, and she came over to meet me and the students, because we were near my dad's hometown. And these are the students, and this is Carlo, he's from Rome, and Salvatore, who's from Ragusa, who got along really well. He was like 18, traveling with 20-year-olds, and he had a few crushes. Family, we had mussels and bread, and it's fun after lunch. And this is me with a swollen face because I cry when I leave, and it hurts. And when I fly away, I feel like Icarus in the plane, because I look back and I can see all these mountains. And even when you're flying into Sicily, all you see is mountains and mist and the sea, and it's just like this weird mythological kind of place. I'm gonna go back into myth with one of my favorite myths is Acci and Galatea. And does anybody know who Polyphemus is? The Cyclops? The Cyclops Polyphemus? So, big, huge monster, one eye. You've heard of them before, the Cyclops. And they live in Sicily. And here's some very old depictions of Polyphemus. Here's Galatea Polyphemo Queen. Here he is again, big monster. You can see how big he is in proportion to his other humans. And here's the statue that I went to go visit in Acci, it's Acci Reale. So, Alfino's just been killed by one of the huge stones that Polyphemus threw in jealousy, because Polyphemus wants Galatea. Galatea was in love with a shepherd, and she's a nymph. So, Polyphemo kills him, and here she is imploring the gods to turn him into a river. So they say that the river still exists, and she can still go find her lover. Here's a drawing of Polyphemo right in front of Etna. So we're back on the east coast of Sicily, going to throw the rock. It doesn't hit Acci, like I said, it kills him. But the interesting thing, I'm skipping some of this, is that this is a map of the eastern part of Sicily with, I think, Etna's north a little bit, or south, I'm not sure, but he's north. And you see all these town names, Acci Caterina, Acci Santa Maria, Acci Bonaforte, San Filippo, Acci Reale, Acci Santa Lucia, and there's another one, Acci Trezza, and Acci Castello, which aren't even here. So there's about 9 towns with the name of Acci, so that would be where he threw the different parts of Acci's body and where they landed. Mapping love stories onto Sicilian geography. Now this is the rest of the town, kind of around Acci Reale, Acci Trezza, beautiful cathedral. These kids are popping wheelies. Beautiful Baroque Sicilian style. And now, Polyphemus also shows up in Odysseus's voyages, and here they're throwing about the rocks and all this. What I want to show you here is these are called the Islands of the Cyclops, and I was so excited to see this because it just makes me feel like the Cyclops had just thrown those stones in there, these big monsters, and they took the stone and they just threw it, and there it is. They're called Island of the Cyclops. This is on the eastern side, right by Acci Trezza. So the legend is really alive. And it's also alive through the volcano, because Etna, there's actually 3 volcanoes in Sicily. There's Etna, which is always surrounded by clouds or snow. Vulcano, which I'll show you in a minute, because that's one of these islands. It's the first island. Those are the Aeolian Islands. And Stromboli. So there's Vulcano and Stromboli are islands that are volcanoes, sleeping, dormant. volcano, and they're making with wool, no, not wool, with, what do you call it, steel iron, and they're burning it. So that's the fire inside the volcano, and they're making weapons for the gods. So the noise and the spewing and the rumbling is the Cyclops inside the volcano doing his work. Their work, I should say. Here's the students and I, another faculty from Emory University over the summer. We're doing a sunrise hike up Vulcano. And you smell the sulfur and it burns your lungs. And you see the sunrise. And you're looking out over other islands like Stromboli. So it's really fascinating. One of the best things, most impressive things I've ever experienced. Just beautiful. This is my friend Corey. He's got a good sense of humor, so I felt like doing that. And you see, that's a really good picture of me. And then this is sunset, where we, again, another island and another, like, you know, Cyclops kind of mass out in there. And we have dinner right here in the bay with the students. And this is called a granita. And it's a granita di cafe, which is strong espresso, a little bit of sugar, iced, but like slushy, with little cookies on top. And I can have 2 of those babies in 1 second. They are so delicious. And that is really a Sicilian thing right there. Now, I had a picture, but I lost it on this new version, of Odysseus feeding, imbibing, if you will, Polyphemus with wine. Because in the story where Odysseus and his men get trapped in the cave, Polyphemus starts eating his men. And then he goes out and he leaves the men alone, and he's not quite understanding why these men are here, and the men are very surprised to find this big Cyclops. So they decide to make a big stake, and they're going to drive it into his eye. But how are they going to get the Polyphemus weak enough to do that? My very good friend, red wine. And this is one of my favorite vineyards that I got to visit this past summer, called Tenuta delle Terre Nere, which means Tenuta, the holding of the black lands, because it's at the base of Etna. So Etna is back over here, and they call it the black lands from the volcanic rocks and ashes. Here's a budding grape. Here's the workers waving hello as we drive through in the truck. Just the Sicilian countryside. I have a better picture than that. I'm going to try and show you after I close this down. But that's Etna through the glass. Yeah, surrounded by the clouds and snow. And that was in June. And the wine is fantastic. This is a church made out of volcanic rock. It's black. That's in Randazzo, which is right nearby. A beautiful, cute little town. And this suggests a standing Greek civic temple right near my father's hometown. You saw pictures in the black and whites. I'm very proud of this picture. This is for sale. $120 for a 3x5. And this is a snail called, we call these lumache, and you eat them. Or baba. The lumaca is the Italian word, and babalushi is Sicilian, how you say it, babalushi. So you eat that in a pasta kind of broth. And they grow everywhere, all over Sicily, these little things. And that suggests a Greek temple during the second wave of Greek colonization. I seem to have lost my images. I didn't remember ending there. But we only have about 10 minutes left. Okay, great. So I want to show you a picture of, or videos that I took that are on the, sorry. Let me show you my award-winning photo. That's a rosé wine with roses and Etna in the background. And this is my brother and I chilling back in the early 90s on the vineyard. He wasn't too happy because my father was shooting pictures left and right. But so now, going from the personal into the teaching, IVC is Italian virtual class. It's Italian media textbook that we use at Emory University, University of North Carolina, Eastern Illinois University, and Utica College. And the picture that I showed you where I was talking about Scylla and Charybdis, like two sea monsters that are in the Stretto di Messina. This is what it's like crossing from Sicily into Italy over to Calabria. And
To Messina.
from Messina to Calabria, Reggio Calabria. And I don't know where the sound is, but I would like to show you a different thing too. But this is the water looking down. This is a shaman I met, and I interviewed him. He's from Agrigento. Let me see.
Parlando io poi. All'ambarandombara in siciliano shaman significa che la luce sia con voi.
He's saying, may light be with
La
you.
luce, no? All'ambara. La luce del sole. La luce in siciliano si può dire anche all'ambara.
È siciliano.
Sì, sì, sì.
Okay. Here's the musicista that plays for the students when we have dinner in Selinunt, one of the
La tua chitarra? Che cosa c'è qui?
È diciamo, la mia caricatura. È un regalo che mi ha fatto una ragazza
plays all
inizia.
over Sicily for
La
weddings.
chitarra, come si chiama? Ha un nome?
Really joking.
La mia chitarra.
Ci sono altre persone
Che la chiamano. È stata un po' la compagna della mia vita.
Now, let me just show you Agrigento to give you an idea of this video. I'm very proud of because I said it's music, and it's driving into Agrigento, which is where a lot of the standing temples are. It's called the Valley of Temples, and you see the beautiful countryside, and this is Agrigento, which sits on the sea, strategically facing Tunisia, so the Carthaginians. And you have a archaeological museum with a ton of Greek statues and pottery inside. Your students, they're walking around studying the different
antica e poi una cosa moderna. Questo stato si chiama Icaro caduto, cioè quella figura mitologica che diciamo troppo al sole, non è
Do you have time to show them how
poi
to cook or no?
per te.
I do want questions. Okay, I'll stop.
2011.
Thank you very much. We have time for a few questions? For a puppet show? This is a traditional Sicilian. I do. But I'm going to Rome. I'm not planning on going to Sicily, but.